Hello, welcome. This is my first show. This is my first going live. This is my first stream. And most of you will probably be watching this on demand. Uh, this is messy and unfiltered. And even my background is messy and unfiltered. But we are doing this. Welcome to Couch Sessions with Melinda. This is a safe space for hard conversations. You can visit bgstories.com for more information about me, and more information about the show will be posted there, including follow-up forms. And as we do this every week on Mondays at 6 p.m. Eastern, you will be seeing it grow and grow and grow. I want to anchor myself in a scripture today and anchor us. We have the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. That's from Psalms 34 and 18. And I do see that I have viewers growing. This is exciting. And I see one of my sister circle girls. Hi, Tay. Please feel free to comment and post, and we'll help support each other. This is going to YouTube and Facebook. If you need to reach out to me on the event link, it'll show you that I have an email, melinda@royhas.com. So I'm going to be clunky with this. So I'll try to post some of your comments if I can figure out how to do it fast enough. Okay. So today's theme, I did what I was supposed to do. Now, before we get into the book, because I'm the author of Black Girl Interrupted, a journey from mental illness to recovery, I want to say and be very clear, this is obviously not polished. It's raw. I made a decision to show up just as I am, to let you see the real messy parts that people often hide. Perfectionism kept me quiet far too long, and I won't let it keep me from speaking truth right now. I've had some specific things that led up to me going live today, and I really appreciate those people, they're individuals that encourage me, that have sought help from me just in the past week. Some of them from my past. Just everything just seems to line up. So I'm really excited about this. So let's talk about what it feels like to do everything right in a crisis. I followed instructions. I went to the hospital. I asked for help, and this is what happened. So this moment on the couch is brought to you by several pages from chapter 1 of my book, Black Girl Interrupted, A Journey from Mental Illness to Recovery. I wrote this while I was still trying to make sense of what happens when the system that's supposed to protect you does the opposite. And what's up, brother? My Deacon Man. I wanted to say from the jump, though, about my book, that the book is dedicated and written to everyone. Like it ended up being a ministry that I wasn't expecting. God has been so great to me, that my suffering has had a purpose, and it's been able to show up in multiple ways. So, but my book is formally dedicated to my dad, who's in heaven watching this and cheering me on, and my mom, Jeffrey Allen and Deborah Hasbrouck, and to my best friend, Natasha Super Perry. We've been together for 44 years and many, many more. So I'm going to read from chapter 1 in my book, a little section of it. And the chapter 1 is called Something's Not Right in My Head. I sat down and waited, feeling highly uncomfortable. My clinical support team had told me to go get help. Here I was for the umpteenth time in the lobby of an emergency department. My head was spinning and making all kinds of distortions that to this day I cannot describe in detail. I knew I needed help, and I'd gone to the place where help was supposed to be. This time I gotten it wrong, though. 30 minutes went by, an hour went by, and I was all alone, mentally twisting in agony. My former pastor walked by. I told him what was going on, but I didn't see him again. I knew how to get their attention, I thought. I took out my pill case and removed everything I thought would be fatal. I swallowed the remaining pills. I wasn't trying to kill myself, I was just trying to get help. So that's taken from my book, pages 13 through 14. I want to ask you, what's a moment when you did everything right and it still went wrong? Feel free to share in the comments about that, or what do you wish someone had said to you in that moment? So I'm going to start talking about some of that. I have bipolar disorder. And at the time when this happened, which was the fall of 2009, I was still suffering from suicidal ideation and attempt, along with some other things, including PTSD, bulimia, which is an eating disorder, and just and with my bipolar disorder, I have a rapid cycling type, but it was not stable yet. So it was a lot of in and out of the hospital, in and out of the hospital, in and out of the hospital. And I had been dealing with this in a professional setting since December 2002. So this is 7 years after that. And I was used to the cycle of hospital, 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 if no one else could reach out to you. So I had a crisis plan already. It had been set up many years ago, and it stayed fresh. I kept it fresh. And when certain questions were yes, 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 whether if safety questions were yes, that meant reach out to help. If there were questions that maybe when you said yes to 3, reach out to help. So at this time, I felt I was just spiraling in my mind. Like I could just tell that something wasn't right, and I was cycling really fast and dangerous, which could lead to a manic episode. And I reached out to my support team, and I reached out to a couple people on my support team, but everyone was too busy to really come out and support me or to even talk to me. So I was told to call an ambulance because I wasn't safe to drive. So I ended up doing that, and I ended up in a waiting room where I walked in. I came in by ambulance, and I told them that I had been spiraling, and I shared everything I was supposed to share about my mental health. And then I just was left in a lobby, a waiting room for over an hour, and things were just getting worse. And I wasn't able to advocate in that moment for what I needed. I saw someone I knew, a former pastor, and I had asked him for help. For whatever reasons, he did not come back around, and things just went worse from there. Because, people always say, go get help. But what happens when the help doesn't show up? So my survival shouldn't have required theatrics. I was desperate and did the best I could under the circumstances. So the book continues, remove your clothes and put them in a clear plastic bag. At this point, I'm in a back room. I was allowed to use the bathroom to throw up the medicine I'd taken. Instead, 2 large men came inside with restraints in their hands. So I wasn't expecting that. Please don't do this. I've been raped, I yelled. But they rushed me like we were playing football. It felt worse than being raped because there were witnesses this time. So when we say, this is what it means when we say trauma-informed care matters, this is what happens when help turns into harm. I didn't need punishment. I needed presence and compassion. And so what does that even look like? For me, I get a lot of, Melinda, I can tell you a lot of things because you don't judge me. And that is a gift, and it is a something that has been given to me by God. It's the it's with His grace that I have been through a lot of things. And one of my one of my close friends, she said, one of my friends from college and beyond, Salmia, she said to me once, Melinda, you are so resourceful. It's because you've been through everything. She's like, well, you've been through everything. And then she goes, well, you haven't been a refugee. And I said, but I know some. So, like, I know that my suffering has a purpose. It didn't feel like that when I was a kid going through some things, and then later as an adult. Definitely not when I was sitting in this hospital, slapped down with 6-point restraints, and it just got worse and worse after that. But it did not feel like my suffering was for a purpose. But I've been through a lot of things that involved shame and guilt, and I've attempted suicide, I've self-harmed, I've been out there with where my mind just was gone, and sometimes I was dead on the inside, and so I behaved that way with sexual interactions. I had intimacy issues. I had fear of bringing anyone into this world so that they would have my genes. So that meant that led up to abortions. Like, I always said I didn't have one night stands because they were like 30-minute or 1 hour. I'd be in other states not knowing where I was. But through all of this, God kept me through all of this. So when when someone says you just don't look at me with judgment, it's because probably either I've done it or I've done worse or I've seen it. But it just, I just always just feel honored that people see me as a vault, and they just see me also as a place that they can say what they're feeling and thinking. And if the kindest gesture that I can do is to look at them while they're doing it, and they don't see judgment flicker across my face, then I just say thank you, Lord. Because I really I really ask God to keep me in that kind of state so that I can provide the compassion that I haven't received myself. And I do know what it feels like to be judged and to be looked at. I know what it feels like to be considered lazy because I'm obese. I know what it feels like to be a woman that is just they expect less, and I know what it feels like to be a minority and a Black woman. So I get it. I totally get it. And the stories that people share with me have just made me fuller. And it excites me every day. Um, and I just thank everybody who is on here and posting. And I see another one of my sister circle who just is a mother in love now. Thank you, Angie. I love you too. And my mom, she has been here. She has been here. She has been here, and much love to her. And hi there, Elder Kim, my goodness, and Brother Gerald. I just really appreciate that. And I'm really not used to this, so I'm gonna miss some of you. Hi, Rainey. And I'm so sorry if I've missed anybody's. I see that Yvonne said she's proud of me. I really appreciate that. Just so much love coming at me. I don't even know what to do. I kind of expected one person to be here, my mom, but so far we have 11 people with us. So that is wonderful. I want to talk about um, what do you wish someone had said to you in that moment? Like, people are asking me, Melinda, what do you wish had happened? Like, say in that instance, I just wanted to be heard. Like I was scared. I was alone. Um, I don't know, with mental illness, and even when your emotions overcome you, your brain is just zzz. And for me, my brain had been my biggest strength. Like I knew my brain was the thing that kept me going as a kid through adulthood. And uh, at that time, I felt very self sufficient. That's a setup because I need God's grace to be sufficient. So therefore, I am not self sufficient anymore. But that was a growing thing for me. But what is that? What is mental illness like? It's just it it's not being able to know what's going to pop up in that moment, especially when you're not well. So my mental health is stable now, but it wasn't back then, and I just never knew. It's terrifying to be in places and you don't know how you got there. It's terrifying to be to have your mind attacking you. You don't know if it's real or if it's not, and or it just seems like it's not going to stop, it's not going to turn off, you're not going to be able to sleep. um, People are not understanding what you're trying to convey. It's hard to think about goals in life when you're just trying to get day by day. I'm no longer suicidal or homicidal, and I thank God for that. But I was for over 10 years, and where you might hear, I would mask, and you might hear me making plans with you, but in my head I'm just thinking about death, and I'm thinking about, if when I was also really sick with my eating disorder. I was just thinking about isolation, and I was just thinking, what's the point? But I at the same time I had a counteracting force. I didn't know how to give up. I don't know how to give up. So even in my worst state, I was I was graced with being able to go get help, and also I would tell myself, like, you would not know anything I was up to if I had not told you I was doing it. You wouldn't know anything. And I would tell myself in therapy, I would tell myself, um, and I would just admit to things, and because I wanted help. So I wanted help. So what does that look like when it doesn't show up? Um, it looks like pain and isolation, and it looks like that moment where I'm doing what you told me to do, but you're not helping me. Um, and I thank you. I see my cousin John Face here, and co-pastor Deborah Fennell. She really got me here to this place this week, and I really thank you for that. Um, I know that help and hope are so intertwined. Like if I'm seeking help, or if anyone's seeking help in that moment, they don't want to just hear about, say, my testimony. They don't want to hear about what they didn't do right, or what they should be doing, or how dare them think that way, or this, you don't have enough faith, you need to pray more. They don't want to hear any of that. They want to hear a message of hope. They want to be reminded that they're not alone. And so for for me, I needed to be reminded in that waiting room, when someone comes in and they're spiraling mentally, they shouldn't be left alone in a waiting room by themselves for an hour. And then when they come and ask like what's going on, it just be kept being dismissed. And that's what led to me just taking a very dramatic action of taking a bunch of pills to act like I was trying to kill myself, because I knew that that would get me some help. Because I had become so used to that type of scenario, and that used to that type of background, that would get me into a room a lot faster. Um, uh, let's see. So when So I had another question. This is when it's like, raw and unfiltered. um, so the question I have here that I had already someone had sent to me, uh, what does support look like for me in the different phases of my recovery to resiliency? So um, when I was very ill, and even to today on my crisis planning, it says, don't just suddenly touch me, talk to me. Like, don't threaten me, just talk to me. um it's that simple. It's that simple. It bothers me when I see where there's either a misunderstanding or there's something going on and someone has a person back to a corner, like they don't realize they've put themselves with a group of people or maybe one or two, and they've put that person's back to a wall. And I know what that feels like, to just feel caged in that way. I I I I always, like, I have compassion for that, and if I can, I try to interrupt that to just say, "Hey, can I help? Can I talk?" Because to just that trauma lens, that trauma piece, um a lot of people who in day-to-day life, a lot of people have been physically assaulted and sexually assaulted, male or female. But when you also have a behavioral health disorder, mental health, or substance use, you've also probably been assaulted a lot more. And so for me, I've had a lot of sexual violence and physical violence in my life. So for people to just touch me, especially when I'm in an elevated state, that doesn't help me. But you talking to me, that helps me. So I do remember one time, I had told my therapist, this my at the time, my therapist, he wanted to know how he could better help me when I would start to dissociate. So when I would start to just zone out and start to leave or get really panicky, because it usually looked like me being in a chair and then me turning around and looking in the corner, and not saying anything else and just going away mentally. And it was a very slow crep. So his chair was a turn chair. So you could see me like put a foot on the floor and then just start to turn and turn and turn and turn, and then I'd be stuck. And he had asked me, because he would sit in silence with me, and I'd be thinking, I don't want you to be quiet, I need help, but I couldn't say it. Like I felt very childish at the time, but I could not say what I needed. And so when he would, one time he offered to cut the visit short, and that's not what I needed. I didn't need that. I wanted my whole visit, but because he did that again, I felt like, I look back and I can say, oh, that seems very immature. But that's part of the recovery process, where I was just like, fine, if you want to end early, fine, we'll end early. So, but coming back, we finally were able to have these conversations around what did I need in those moments, when either things were just not well for me even before I came through that door, or they triggered something in therapy. And I said, I just need you to talk. Don't expect me to talk back yet, but just talk. Don't cut my session short. Just talk. And so I remember what the one time I did that, and I ended up turned to the corner and I was gone. And then I just started to I heard him type up something, and then I heard him start talking about strawberries and how they grow. And I was like laughing inside, because I was like, what is he talking about? But he was just reading this article about strawberries and how they grow. And it was awesome, because it just took me out of that place and brought me back to the present. So I needed present help. That's compassion. That's listening to me. That's meeting me, as they say, where you are. Um, and I want to encourage anyone, if they have any comments or questions, feel free to post them here. Um, I would love to entertain anything or answer anything. But it's okay if you don't feel comfortable. This is social media. I get that. And so I will be building up a process where you can submit them privately. But I want to, in each section of my book, I have a thing called lessons learned. So at the end of every chapter, there are lessons learned. I do want to say that chapter 1 continues with a harrowing account of my attempted escape from the hospital, a moment born out of fear, desperation, and feeling unseen. What followed was a traumatic encounter that exposed just how broken the system really is when it comes to treating people in crisis. That experience made me even more suicidal, and it physically injured me. I sustained a back injury during the incident, but it was my increased suicidality following the trauma that led to another psychiatric admission immediately the day after I was discharged. It took years to recover from that, not just physically, but emotionally, because it was from the shame and the pain of what happened. I want to say that was horrible. And it just added to another bucket of shame I had, because when even after that incident, and by that time I was a lawyer, and I knew as it was happening, I knew as things were going on that it wasn't right. I knew that I had done nothing to rise to the level of what they did, like with the restraints. Like, I was in a very calm state, and all of a sudden, bam. I knew that medicating me, over medicating me, was not right. I knew that the making me go to the bathroom while restrained, so that everything overflowed and urine overflowed on me. It just wasn't it wasn't right. And all I could do for a while was whimper like a hurt dog on the bed. And when I finally was able to get out of that horrific place, I even tried to escape, which is is a scary and funny story at the same time. But what it left me with when I finally got out of that situation was so much shame to be treated that way, that I ended up going to another hospital the next day and admitting myself, because I just knew I was going to kill myself. And but I do know that I did not have to stay there in that place, so I still sought help. And recently, I'm gonna throw you out here. Co-pastor Deborah Fennell had asked me over the phone, as she helps a lot of people, and she was asking me, what was it that made me understand that I could get help outside of inpatient units. And I told her, like, I know I am just abundantly blessed. I really do. God has given me a lot, and I know that a lot is expected of me. But the hand of God has always been present in my life through the hardest of the hardest things. So one of them is most of my professional support has been supreme. There have been some horrific members of professional support, but that's okay, because I have those experiences to be able to understand and help others. But my current psychiatrist has been with me since 2005. He takes me with him when he moves to other locations. And I remember him saying, advocating for me in this moment with my case management team. And he said, Melinda does not need to receive crisis care in the hospital. She does not need to go to the hospital. Um, she needs the support that it's their job to give me. So I needed what the system was supposed to give me. And that was, and I was on a trauma team, and it was, I needed that bumped up, increased support that I was supposed to have. And at times that meant kind of like a wraparound, like a, kind of like that, when people take blankets and make them real tight. I forget what you call that, but uh, I needed, in those times, I needed, if I couldn't reach my psychiatrist, then for them to help me reach them, to talk to my therapist. I was in like multiple sessions a week, to have my case management team. It was a team, so having them be around me just to figure out what's going on, how can we solve this, because the hospital wasn't the place for me anymore. Initially, the hospital was the place for all the randomness at the beginning, like where I was not safe, because of mania, especially. But the hospital now was harming me more than it was helping me, and I was stuck in this loop of convenience. So it's convenient for, some people, whether it's professional support, loved ones, um, the people, law enforcement, to take a person to a psych hospital, or a psych spot, and just engage there and leave them, like, almost like the same way people get shot and left at the curb of the hospital. That's how it happens. And I needed, I did not need that. Like, I needed someone to say, what's going on? Let's help you. Look at what's helped me before. Talk to the different people on my multidisciplinary team and do that. So when he said, um, Melinda does not need to go to the hospital, I was okay. That's what happens when you're live. A storm just rolled through and took down my Wi-Fi. So I got back on my hotspot. Um, where was I? Um, so my psychiatrist telling me Melinda doesn't need this type of intervention. She can be supported outside of the inpatient unit. That just meant so much to me in that moment. I wasn't talking because I just sometimes I just would go silent, but I was listening. My ears had perked up. You're telling me something that um, that that I can action, like something that I can own, something that I can expect. You gave me some hope because I had lost my hope. Um, and so with my doctor saying you can be supported outside of the hospital, that meant others had to step up. And that also meant I had to step up. Um, and for me, that was finding, once I was out of crisis, reviewing my current support and bumping it up some. Um, that was for me the thing that kept me from just staying in this spiral of hospital. um uh if I go if I'm not, if I'm in an illness state, hospital. But instead, I was that was my last admission. Right after that incident, I had went to the hospital the next day, but after that, that was my last admission to inpatient. And then for me, a while, it was, I thought recovery meant and resiliency meant I don't go back to the hospital. Like, I really thought that meant that. And I remember being a NAMI facilitator, a co-facilitator at NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and I was with the DC chapter at the time. And I remember, saying, thinking, like, that had been my thought for a while. Like, uh, resiliency and means I don't go back to the hospital for mental health stuff. That's what it means. Because I ended up in the hospital on a psych unit for things that were not psych related. Like, I had mono really bad, and they put me on the psych unit. Mono has nothing to do with mental health stuff. There were other times where it was completely not the appropriate place, but I ended up on the psych unit because I refused to hide the fact that if you tell me I'm supposed to tell doctors about a medical condition called bipolar disorder, and also about PTSD and these things, bulimia, then if I tell you, don't harm me because of it. So now I understood, what that replaced in me for a while was failure is going back to the hospital. Now, that wasn't the message that my psychiatrist was giving me, but that was kind of like the other end of the extreme, um, of hope, and then it's just like, well, if you end up at the hospital, then you failed. But I'd be in NAMI and I'd be encouraging people to go to the hospital or go to a crisis unit or a crisis bed. And I was being a hypocrite because I would say it. I could sell it. I could talk to a person about it. And I only meant it for situations that really needed that, when we were talking about options, because there's always lots of options. But that was if it was something discussing that really that person needed to be in the hospital, probably. Yeah, it was honest conversations about that. But I was telling people they were brave if they went. And I was sharing a message um, of recovery, and relapse and slip ups. That's all part of the recovery process, because we know recovery is not linear. We know it's not a straight line. But then one day, when this young man came in and he had said, they had went to CPAP, and in DC, that's the Crisis Psychiatric Emergency Program. I think that's what that means. It's been a while since I looked up those letters, but they had went to CPAP and they talked about how their short stay, had lasted 3 days, had helped them. And I just had that, internal aha moment, but I spoke about it as a facilitator. I did a confession, and said, as I sit here and as a peer and an advocate, I told them how I had started to believe the hospital was a failure, but I'm telling you different stuff. So for me, in that moment, I understood it to be, if I needed to go to the hospital and I didn't go, that would be the failure. Um, but since then, I have not had to receive inpatient help. I've come close to it quite a number of times. Even recently, in the past years, I've come close to it quite a number of times. Like even where it was set up about 2 years ago for me to enter into an inpatient stay, and this one would have been a long one, longest I've ever had. This one would have been 30 days or more. But up to that moment, right the day before, there was a change, a change in perspective, a healing from God. There was a change, and I did not need to go. But over this period of time, I have enrolled in outpatient programs, some of them very intense. So I've been in psychiatric hospitals, PHP, psychiatric hospitalization programs. And those tend to be 4 to 5 days a week. And some places might classify that as 3 also, and it's a day program kind of setting. And that really helped me. The first time I went, it was a very long stay. It was at PIW. I did that for months. And then after that, I came back and burst, and I might stay for a couple months at a time. I was in intensive out treatment patient programs, group therapies, individual therapies. Most recently was doing 3 days a week for trauma therapy for years. And now I'm back in after having a short, well, it didn't feel short to me, but kind of my therapist had to end his practice for health reasons. And now I'm starting a brand new relationship in therapy. And I definitely will discuss in this type of setting what that's like, because it's been a long time since I've had to have anyone new on my treatment team. And now I'm in a brand new relationship with the therapist, and still in the system because I needed that kind of care. So I'm excited about it. I'm curious, and I am empowered, because there have been times in the past where I accepted whatever was given to me. And when I had someone abusive, um, manipulative, outright mean, and I was still in a very fragile state, I almost killed myself. But again, that hand of God was right there. Snatch you back, sends an angel down and says, "Yo, sis, what's wrong?" Because he saw I was about to jump on them tracks, subway tracks. But in that moment, I was able to get back and talk to my therapist and tell him what had happened with this doctor. He's like, "You never need to see that person again." Now, I don't know how he knew that to be true, because it was the only way I was receiving help at that moment up here in DC. But it did turn out to be true. I ended up finding new and great help. So when I say I'm empowered, it's I'm filling this relationship out. So I hope this therapy session and this new person will work out. So far, seems like a great guy. Seems knowledgeable. Is listening to me. Has acknowledged when I've said nope, that's not where I'm going with this. Nope, that's not what I'm saying. It's definitely each one brings their own different approach. So this is a brand new approach to me. It seems more science based and I've done a lot of assessments, but it's cool. So now we're in a get to know each other stage. And I'm just filling it out. So I'm staying hopeful with that. I'm excited that I do have that relationship. But if for whatever reason it doesn't work out, I'm empowered enough to say, can you refer me? Can I try somebody else? Because that's the thing. And it's mostly not a statement about you or the other person if the relationship doesn't work out. It's a statement about it's just not a good fit. This is therapy is even though it's not an arranged marriage, even though it has some parallels, like your insurance kind of determines, or your funds, your access to money determines what you have access to and who, but you don't have to stay in a harmful relationship. So even when you think this is all I can do because of therapy, because of insurance, there's still alternatives. Back when I was going through a lot of things, there were helplines. There were some that it depended on where you live, depended on the hours. But now there's a national helpline, 988. So that would have been great for me in the middle of the night. I might have been able to call that instead of the many times I called my therapist in the middle of the night when I first was getting a lot of help. But now we have those type of options, and it's underutilized. So remember, spread the word, 988. I just wanted to come back to some of the comments. Thank you, Francis. It is great that you have written a book. Congratulations, and full admiration that you can share all of this public. I could only do this public because you all are showing up and you all are encouraging me. Thank you, Sister D. God bless you, sister. You are the voice so many of us young women need. And I'll take it anytime somebody calls me a young woman, but I'll also own up that I'm 48. Uh, so the purpose of chapter one of the lessons learned also were, do not go to the hospital by yourself when you're in a psychiatric crisis. You need an advocate, a family member, friend, or someone from the community. You definitely need somebody who's going to be there to speak with you. Now I can be the person who shows up to speak with people. I think it's so wonderful. I go to a great church, Temple of Praise in DC. And I love that I've been able to go follow an ambulance to the hospital, and I might be there for 10 hours or more, and help somebody get engaged in help, and they might be treated and released, or they might end up being inpatient. But I love that because that's what my first therapist, psychologist did for me. He was taking me all kinds of places, and he would sit there, and that meant the world. And so when I was out there alone doing that, it never worked out. It never. As you'll see, like in the book, I was in a lot of pain and I was sick mentally, but my parents were just a mile away from where I lived, and I did not seek out help because I was just so disenfranchised and disconnected from my primary inner circle. So my inner circle had become all clinicians. That's not great because even an advocate, even if having a peer advocate, that would have been somebody maybe who could have sat with me and advocated for me. Now, if I go to the hospital for physical stuff, I'm mostly fine, but I have been in a situation in 2019 where I was just like, this is not going right. This is not going right. So I called up my best friend, and I felt bad because I was in DC and Tasha lives in Waldorf, but she came over and she advocated for me. And that presence, and I'm not used to that, but that presence really showed up. And I thank you, Pastor Jacqueline. She says, such strength and courage in Bishop Charity. My God, amen. I just want to be here. Like I said, I'm not going to be stuck in perfectionism. That bondage is over. And so this is coming out raw, it's coming out unfiltered, but I also know who I am as a child of God, and I know that he is ordering my steps. So I know that it will get better and better and better because it's to serve him. Reacting in extreme manners will get you extreme reactions. I truly wasn't intending to kill myself, but me taking those pills in front of that in front of the receptionist, well, she's just like, I can look back now and I can see, well, you had a room full of probably about 30 plus people, and you're just like, here's this person doing this. I don't have time for this. I don't know what to do with this. And you pushing the button that calls in for Code Strong. I can get that. I have compassion for that. If you have an advocate present, like I said in Lessons Learned, then those extreme things, you'll be able to stay and avoid those things. But I definitely, through this process, want to hear from you. I'm going to make sure next time I will have a form ready. So you'll be able to submit your questions or share your story anonymously if you like. And of course, if you're looking at this if you're looking at this later and it's not live, still drop your comments. I'll still address them in a future session. I'm coming on here Mondays at 6:00 p.m. Eastern. And I just am so thankful and grateful and humbled that all these familiar faces and names just showed up in this last minute invite. I just I am so full of blessings. I'm just so overwhelmed with that. I agree, Pastor Jackie. I love how she says, I love how God guided you through it all. His hand has truly been present in my life, and I am so thankful for that. If today's session hit close to home, I want you to know you are not alone. Whether you've been ignored, misunderstood, or harmed while asking for help, your pain is real and your voice matters. If you need someone to talk to, don't wait. If you don't have someone to call, or if you just want to call somebody different, call or text 988. It's the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. You don't have to be suicidal or ready to commit suicide. If you just want to talk to somebody or get connected to other services, that's a place to start because they can plug all that in. They are ready to receive you. Until next time, I want you to remember, you are worthy of help. You are worthy of healing. And this couch will always have room for you. Thanks for joining us. And I see you there, Patrice. Thank you. And like I said, I'll get a little fancier and be able to show the comments on the screen. And I'm just gonna say, my girl Angie, who again just came from a wedding, beautiful wedding, mother in love now. Thank you for saying I am so happy that you use this platform to share, and she's very proud of me. That you can't see it, but the tears are in me right now. So I'm just gonna not force this to go a whole hour. I'm just gonna wrap it up right now. And I just say thank you and God bless you. If you are looking for a church home, the Temple of Praise in Washington, D.C. is always open for new members in person and virtually. So you can Google that or just anything. If you need to reach me by email, Melinda at Royhas, that's ROYHAS.com. But good night, and I thank you, and you all are amazing too. Thank you.